Luke, KK. She keeps failing up, and I know it's the opposition, and I know it's 3 years away from when they could ever have the opportunity to become government. But let's be serious here. For all the sort of theatrical bashing that I'll do, Christina Keneally wants to have the power to do what Dave Coleman does, what Peter Dutton has done, what Scott Morrison has done, which is to have the power to decide who comes here and the manner in which they come. She's backed in people who the courts on multiple occasions have said aren't refugees. She went to a rally for it, and now she's out there saying, well, there's more risks not bringing the brides of ISIS back than leaving them there.
So while there is a risk to bringing these people back, there is also a risk to not bringing them back. And that's where I think Minister Dutton and the Prime Minister need to be more clear with the Australian people. While there are risks, we do have legislative tools in place to protect our national security. And there is a significant risk both to the region, the world, and indeed to Australia if foreign fighters are left there in Syria.
Minister, please. Luke, what do you think of KK and her attitude towards the ISIS brides?
Well, look, I think that she's a Labor Party leader. She's one of the top 4 leaders within the Labor Party here in federal Parliament, and she's out of touch with the vast majority of Australians. Australians don't want ISIS fighters brought back to our country. It's clear. I mean, we've passed laws for those that are dual citizens so that we can leave them there. You know, if they've gone away to fight overseas in Syria, that was the reason why we passed the laws, so we can strip them of citizenship, lead them overseas where they wanted to be, and then we don't have to deal with the problem here. So most Australians would say that that's the right thing to do. I mean, every case, of course, is looked at on a case-by-case basis, and but look, if people have gone there to fight for ISIS, we don't want them back here. It's pretty clear, and I'm pretty confident that most Australians would want that to happen as well.
Also, you know, Darren, I might get you kicked off a Christmas card list or two here, but I've got to ask you, you're a bloke who knows the Labor Party well, worked behind the scenes for it for a long time. At the same time, as Jim Chalmers is giving landmark speeches that we need to connect with normal people, at the same time as the leader is standing at press conferences saying we need to clean up the front office, you've got this person playing to Twitter and Channel 2 on an issue that even people who think offshore detention is maybe a bit tough. Where is the long lineup of saying, oh, well, they're just innocents. They were happy to go to an Islamic caliphate and they were happy to look the other way when people were being raped and murdered?
I'll put it this way. I don't see why anyone who's in the position of immigration spokesperson for Labor would be going on insiders. I don't understand, given that that's an agenda-setting program, right, particularly on a day where, you know, water through the Murray-Darling is a contentious issue. The government has had 6 years, and you can mount an argument that they haven't done a lot.
That's where that, if you were going to,
so therefore,
that's where you go.
That's where your attack today
Absolutely.
Was about the government hasn't done enough over the last 6 years.
Absolutely.
So that's how I'll answer your question. But any day that's about borders is not a good day for Labor. That's always been the case, and that's not going to change.
But also, you know, I mean, Adam, let's imagine that there is an ultimate, absolute responsibility that at some point in time Australia is dragged, kicking and screaming, and absolutely has to. It's about the urgency we place on returning these people to the Australian community. I would place none on it.
Well, I mean, I don't want these people coming back to Australia, and I think if you run a straw poll, most Australians would be of the same opinion and not wanting them to return. And as Luke said, that's why that legislation has been passed. But I mean, just to Darren's point, I don't understand the strategy behind the politics. On a day when Albo's out there trying to, you know, deflect any attention that might come up in the next 2 weeks of Parliament about what's going on in ICAC in New South Wales, he's got one of his top lieutenants out there talking about an issue that's white hot and goes against them politically. I can't understand why Christina Keneally would do that and just run this up the flagpole and get in her own leader's face at the start of a 2-week session of Parliament. To me, it just seems to be bad politics. or she's trying to undermine the leader. I can't understand it.
Well, yeah, again, it was always going to go that way, but surprise, surprise that it does. Obviously, we'll talk about Medivac a little bit later. Jackie Lambie's the final vote that will decide whether this nonsense, the crowbarring of people off Manus and Nauru will happen, which, by the way, remember, of all the people that have come off for medical reasons, four went to hospital and all had to leave and all left hospital. Most were judged not even to be outpatient level crook. All right? Like, come on.
To say our hospital system hasn't been overrun either, Paul, but we'll get to this. We'll talk about this later in the show.
You're trying to get back on that Christmas card list. I will have it in a moment or two's time.